Hey guys, this is Impact Hall of Famer Gail Kim, and you are watching the Countdown City WrestleCast.
What is up, heels and baby faces? Welcome to another episode of the Countdown City WrestleCast. I'm your host, JC. This week, I'm joined by Dylan Dunbar.
It's me.
It's
Dylan
you.
Dunbar.
Yeah,
That's
pro
me.
wrestler, promoter, owner.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit
of everything.
heavy metal
man,
wrestling.
Yeah. And a lot of bit of other things like promoter, but a little bit of wrestling here and there. Oh man. I'm
So still
getting
got the
crazy.
wrestling thing.
Yeah,
Still got the bug. Yeah.
Here and there, man. Here and there.
Yeah.
Mainly focused on the promoting side of things. And actually, I think in about 3 weeks, I'll be making my debut as a referee.
Oh boy. You mean you never did refereeing training?
I never did, actually. I mean, I did everything else. I've always said it. I've done everything else. I've ran music. I've done security, produced shows, edited shows, been on shows, like wrestled and been, promoted them. I've done everything there is except to actually referee a match. So I've partnered up with my good buddies at Sabotage Wrestling in Austin for, I think, May 25th. I'll be making my refereeing debut, man. And I just hope that once, I count like a 3, I get like a little Xbox achievement that pops up.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
So if somebody is recording that, pop it up. Just add that little graphic.
please.
So I'm going to interview Dylan today, just kind of talking about his career. Pretty young. I feel pretty old because I've known this guy since he was in high school.
Yeah.
A fellow Central Catholic grad
That's
over
true.
here.
Yeah, man.
So
09.
And you send us a tweet, ccg_WrestleCast. Subscribe, Countdown City Geeks. Send us a comment here on what you think. If you have any follow-up questions for Mr. Dunbar over here. So what we're allowing you to do is what every pro wrestler loves to do, and that's talk about yourself.
Hey, well, I mean, again, I only have a little bit of pro wrestling left in me. I'm more side of the promoter.
You're in the business. You guys love to talk. So now I know the answer to this, but obviously we'll say obviously you grew up a wrestling fan.
Oh man, unfortunately, the bug bit me
yeah.
like really early on.
Well, the way your dad was with you, I'm sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, for the people that don't know, JC, I mean, we go back, man. I mean, what, 2007, 2006?
Somewhere around there, old ACW days.
Yeah,
yes.
man, in the old ACW days off Lexington. Yeah.
Yep.
I used to go and hang out with my dad and sit behind you crazy bastards. And we used to have a great time, man. But, I've been involved with independent wrestling in some form or fashion, whether it's, as a fan or as a promoter, wrestler, whatever you want to call it, for, since the early 2000s, going to any independent wrestling show that I could find, just because I loved watching that close, intimate, that it's a lot different than watching it on TV.
Yeah, you're more interactive.
Yeah,
you feel like
of
you're more
course.
part of it.
Exactly. I feel like I'm a part of this show just as much as the guys in the ring. And that's what I think is kind of special about, like, independent wrestling. But, I mean, as far as wrestling in general, I mean, the bug bit me when I was, like, 4 years old. Like, some of my earliest memories.
Is this something you knew you always wanted to do?
It was something I knew that I kind of was almost pigeonholed myself from a young age. Like, this is the only thing I want to do, and this is I'm not interested in learning anything else. And teachers would try to be like, hey, you have leadership qualities, you should go into this field or something like that. Like, nah, man, wrestling is for me. And I was kind of pigeonholed myself from a young age, but this is what I wanted to do. So
I can't think of very many people that I graduated with from Central that are wrestling fans. Maybe myself and Mike, who is on the show with me usually.
Wow.
So yeah,
too many grads, man.
Both class of '99.
Oh, my favorite actually. Ken Johnson was a former graduate of Central Catholic.
Nice.
I think in like the late 70s or something like that. I'm not
older than
familiar,
us.
but yeah, he's a little older than us, man. But he is a Central Catholic graduate.
Nice. So you get out of high school.
I do.
College is not in the question.
I
for you?
actually went to UTSA for a year and a half, and it was just kind of more of the same as Central. It's just intense academic studies, and it wasn't really for me. It had just done 4 years at like a college prep, high school, so.
Nothing against Central.
Yeah, no, I love Central. I love Central. But when you're 18, 19 years old, the last thing you want to do, at least for me, was sit in a classroom for 4 more years after I had just done that for 4 years at Central.
Yeah.
So I kind of just, I wasn't really for me. I left UTSA. I actually ended up becoming an EMT. I went to the UT Health Science Center and did like some work to actually become a medic. I did that for like 3 months and just absolutely hated it. It was like the worst 3 months of my life, and I was like, oh man, I got to do something that's gonna make me happy, that's gonna be fulfilling, and something I've always, as a kid, just never fell out of love with. I always tell people, man, like people my age, there's once The Rock and Stone Cold left, people fell out of love with wrestling, and that.
It was a weird.
It was a
period.
weird transition.
Weird
period,
little purgatory.
All
I
of a
would say.
sudden, I became the wrestling fan, and people thought, I was stupid and I ate my boogers or something like that, because I watched wrestling. But I mean, at the same time, man, it's just something that I stayed the course with, and once I found the opportunity to start training with Sho Funaki here in San Antonio, I mean, I jumped at it. I'm a big boy now, but I was a big boy then. I started training with Funaki, and I ended up losing about 120 pounds during the course of training with him for about a year. Then I got married and put it all back on.
I was gonna say
that's a whole other story.
How was it training with Funaki?
I will always say, man, he is by far and away the most patient man I've ever met in my entire life. Like the patience of a saint, because I mean, to take a guy that's 320 pounds, mold him down to weigh 210, and to be able to do, front flips and stuff like that is, you have to be patient. I mean, we would do 2 days training, me and Scotty Santiago, Great Scott as he's known now. We broke in together, and we would do 2-a-day trainings. We would both, our whole life revolved around it. We weren't really working steady jobs. It was just kind of trying to hustle to get by as much as you could, just so you could be available to train 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours a day with Funaki, because this is all that we wanted to do. Yeah. And then eventually Funaki gave me the green light to start, taking bookings and, get out onto the scene a little more. And that's exactly what I did. I just jumped headfirst into it, and any company that would have me at first, I was just there with, with like a bell on, just doing anything that they needed me to do. But yeah, training with Funaki was intense. It was tough, but he is the most patient man I think I've ever met. And he's actually now, again, after our school, I actually closed down the Funaki dojo originally. He went back to WWE and started doing the announcing.
Still does it,
yeah. But now he's back in San Antonio and actually, again, training at the Hybrid School of Wrestling as one of their trainers, I got to say, man, once I saw that, I was like, maybe I got one last run. But again, I'd be starting back at square one, 300 plus, trying to get down to 200.
Well, he would train you for
I
it.
know,
So,
I know. He would
never stop learning,
He
right?
would be the one person that I'd be able to trust that would be able to get me there again.
So how long did you wrestle? I know you and Scott were tag team for a while.
We tagged for a little bit, and I had some other tag team partners here and there. Actively, I was wrestling for about 5 or 6 years. And then my priorities kind of shifted once I got a little banged up. I tore my MCL and meniscus in my left knee, and then nothing real serious. It was just real tough to come back from because I always had kind of lingering injuries. It was always just something like, this popped or this doesn't feel right. So it became a nagging injury. And then I put the weight back on because of it. And then, my focus kind of shifted. And I think one of the most important qualities from being inside the professional wrestling industry, or really any industry whatsoever, is self-awareness. Knowing what you can bring to the table and what you're good at. At that point, I had that, that awareness to know that, hey, man, I'm not bringing anything new to a show. I'm just another fat guy in a T-shirt that's kind of just lumbering around. And no one wants to pay to see that, or at least in my mind, I wouldn't want to pay to see that. So it became a real easy thing for me to do, to be like, okay, time to put the boots up and, dust them off every now and then just to have some fun. But I think once I got kind of banged up, put the weight back on, and I kind of realized, hey, you know what, I'm not, my skill set's probably not best utilized in the ring. I can bring a lot of other stuff to the table, things like, obviously promoting, I guess now refereeing.
So it wasn't always the plan to be a promoter?
No. I'd be lying if I said it was. I mean, it's a pipe dream, really, when you're a kid, like, oh man, it'd be cool to have my own company and stuff like that. But it just seems so far away and such like a difficult task that I'd never be able to do. But then randomly, man, it was just one day, it was kind of like, actually, a buddy of mine bought a small venue off of El Paso Street, and the second I heard that, the wheels started turning. I was like, wow, he has his own venue. I was like, well, if he can buy a building, then I can do this no problem. I should be able to do this. He's got the setup. I've got, I can find the ring. I've got a group of guys that I know are, chomping at the bit for an opportunity, that are just looking to showcase what they have in front of a different audience. So the decision to actually start heavy metal wrestling was just kind of like a spur of the moment thing in like a group text amongst a few people that was just kind of like, it'd be kind of cool if we did this. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, holy crap, man, we have a flyer, we have a name, we have a date. Okay, fine, we're going to do this. Granted, those partners have all kind of stepped back now because of things in their lives, but in 2 years, heavy metal went from a place that was running in a very, very, very small building with people just pretty much crammed up against the ring to fit anybody in there. Like if the fire marshal would have came in, I would have been screwed.
I don't know. The fire marshal might have enjoyed the show.
Maybe, yeah.
We've
Maybe
seen
after
that
the
a few
show, I
times.
would have gotten scolding or something like that. But during, but we've gone from, a very small, intimate kind of like underground punk rock thing to something that's more, you bring your family to now.
Yeah.
We've got our own building. We've got, weekly shows, monthly shows. And so we're just trying to keep building that. And heavy metal has been a roller coaster, man.
Which is where we are now. We're in the pit here. So in the
pit.
ring. First time I've done an interview in the ring. It's just kind of cool. So you had Funaki helping you.
Yeah.
Where did you seek like any advice? Did you have a mentor as far as promoting?
I mean, really,
Reach out to
the
anybody?
good thing is, man, is during my time as an actual wrestler, I was a little bit of a brown noser. No,
Okay.
I will actively admit to that, man. I was the guy that was always trying to hang around the promoter, and I wasn't trying to, like curry favor or something like that, or politic as a lot of other, people think I would be. But really, I was just trying to learn, man. I worked for River City Wrestling and Brandon Oliver, and I saw the way he does business, and I learned things from him. I worked with Anarchy Championship Wrestling, and I worked pretty closely with Darren Childs, and I learned, what I know from him. So really it became just there wasn't necessarily like a promoter mentor that I had. It was just more so kind of like the things I had picked up along the way from working with RCW and Brandon or working with ACW and Darren, really just anybody that I had come across. And it became something where I was just trying to kind of, felt like I was trying to navigate a minefield kind of blindly. Because like you said, I didn't really have anybody that was going like, oh, you can't do that. You have to do this. You have to have this type of insurance. And then it became something that was just kind of like, I'm going to figure it out myself and just trial and error. It took us a few shows, but then we got it down. Our buildings kept closing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like we had the curse of like the death touch or something, because we'd run a show and then 3 weeks later that venue would be closed down. Like we did it with that original punk venue, and then we were running pretty actively at the Corova off of Martin Street downtown, and then just randomly that closed. And I was like, oh man, what are we doing? What did I do?
Yeah.
But it was just like a string of bad luck until we hit just the biggest wave of momentum that I think, has come through Texas in a long, long time. And now we've got our own building and weekly shows, which is just amazing to me because, 2 years ago, I have 20 people, not even people, friends and family that were almost guilted into coming to the show.
Yeah.
And our first shows, and now, to see what we're doing now is just awesome.
Well, that I think that kind of pretty much answered. Tommy had one question, submitter. You know who Tommy is. Who doesn't know who Tommy is?
Of course I know
Yes.
who Tommy is.
He asked what made you want to start heavy metal wrestling. I think he covered that. So I'll kind of follow on that. Why heavy metal? Like, what was the idea behind heavy metal wrestling?
So truthfully, man, my biggest inspiration for everything we do was ECW. I love watching old ECW TV, pay-per-views, anything. What I wanted to do was kind of bring that back because there was in San Antonio. I mean, you saw it firsthand, man, with ACW, the Anarchy Championship.
That was like the closest we got to it.
That was the closest we got to it. And I remember some of the matches I saw there. They were just amazing. These guys were just out of this world because it was a different vibe and a different atmosphere. It was like, gritty and dirty and kind of felt like we were underground and like maybe, the cops would bust in at any second, and it kind of felt like dangerous, man. And that's something that we went for. And heavy metal I woke up one morning and it was just kind of like heavy metal wrestling. That doesn't sound too bad, man. That actually sounds pretty badass. And then the idea started forming. It's like, what if we did a live band? Because that's something different, in the area that we haven't seen. So then we went that route. I got some buddies of mine that started playing that pretty much acted as our house band. And truthfully, man, like we started heavy metal, just to touch on Tommy's question, is because there was a lot of guys out there that really weren't getting a stage to perform on the way they should. Guys, and I'll be upfront, and people may get mad at me because they are my friends. But guys like Scotty Santiago, Thomas Shire, just fantastic athletes that other promotions are kind of being underutilized. And I only say that because I would be wrestling Shire, I would be wrestling Scotty. It's like, man, what are you doing with them? These guys are way better than me.
Why are they stuck on me? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the reasons is like, hey, man, these guys are talented. These guys are hungry. They're young. They're probably not going to get another shot elsewhere. And if they do, that passion that they have, that vigor that they have might be gone.
Yeah.
That spark could be out and snuffed out by then when they get that shot. So it was just more so almost like a youth movement. It was just like, we got all these young guys, all these guys that are hungry. Screw it, man. We're gonna make something happen with it. And the name heavy metal it kind of fit because it was, it wasn't professional. I mean, it was and it wasn't.
In the sense of the art, professional, but I get it. It's not your typical
it's
mom and pop thing.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I could not go to the local church basketball court and be like, hey, can we run a show here? Because I had
It depends on the church.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe so. Yeah. But we have guys that are wasted at our shows. We serve alcohol. We've had basically house parties with our shows, where we've done shows in someone's backyard as like a birthday party, and we've had keggers. It's a little different, and I felt like the name Heavy Metal Wrestling kind of encapsulated that kind of mindset as hey, it's something a little different,
But it has evolved.
It has evolved into something totally different.
One thing I've enjoyed most is like when I saw it, you guys were putting this on Twitch. I was like, wow,
yeah,
that's new. Twitch, gaming. You see a few podcasts here and there. And you guys are on Twitch, and then Impact is now on Twitch.
Yeah,
they're putting their stuff on Twitch.
It became a very popular trend amongst wrestling communities, and
Yeah.
it was one thing. And I'll credit. He told me to do it 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we started, and I was like, no, Twitch will never happen. Scotty Santiago was like, you got to get on Twitch, and I was like, no, man, there's no future in that. That's stupid. Like, that's for video games, like, who's going to watch wrestling on that? And then, a year later, I'm like, well, maybe we should get on Twitch. And Scotty's like, I told you, dumbass. So,
Well, thankfully, he didn't do it himself.
Yeah,
and not tell you. So,
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we have evolved, but that's one of the things that, like, I really love about being able to do heavy metal is we are able to change our show and our presentation to match any audience. I have done Comic Cons at all across San Antonio, and we do a family-friendly show where I have guys dressed up as Pikachu and like Ryu from Street Fighter and stuff like that, Sub-Zero, and it's a fun show. And then literally the very next day, I ran like a deathmatch tournament. So, you definitely don't want kids seeing that type of stuff. So we have that dichotomy, man, where on Friday I could be running, a family-friendly show and kissing babies and all that stuff, and on Saturday we have guys that are losing a quart of blood. It's just we're able to change things up like that, and that's what I think is really unique about heavy metal is that we are very diverse in what we present. I have a little bit of stuff for everybody. We got a little bit of comedy wrestling. We've got tag team wrestling. We've got we've got grappling. We've got hardcore wrestling. We've got high flying wrestling, technical stuff. A little bit of everything on every single show. Whatever style of wrestling you like, I've got something for you.
That's good. Now you mentioned that it started like with you. Scotty, Thomas Shire, those kind of guys. It's evolved a little bit, been a couple years.
Yeah.
So where do you find new talent now? Like, where are you
Truthfully, it's everywhere. I'm constantly watching a bunch of shows that I would never watch otherwise unless I was promoting. I'm looking. I mean, my biggest area right now is the guys in Laredo. Are just like
Tina's hometown, by the way. My wife's hometown.
There you go.
Yeah.
But see, those guys that are in Laredo right now they're just now turning 18 years old, and they've been training for like 5 years.
We've been to a few LWA shows years ago.
The
talent
talent is kind of ridiculous, and we've been able to bring some of those guys down here and try to give them a bigger platform in San Antonio. And then, truthfully, some of the talent that we get just kind of flocks to us. And I've been lucky that some of the talent that we have just kind of falls into my lap, and it's just kind of like, well, cool, I guess you're part of heavy metal then, and it's a good thing because you're really talented as far as local talent goes. But then as far as nationally known names, man, I'm just trying my best to stay on top of whoever has any type of buzz or any type of momentum or who's having amazing matches, and then seeing how well those people can match up against our core group of guys. So it's really just my eyes are just kind of open. my DMs are open. I can't tell you how many people are hitting me up like, hey, I'd love to come down. It's like, okay, let's see some of your matches and see how well you can kind of mix in with what we have going on.
Did you ask for
already.
tape, or is it something like you have to search yourself for? They give you links.
I mean, if someone sends me a match and is like, hey, can you check this out? Like, no doubt I'm going to watch it, and I'll give you any type of feedback that I would, as a promoter, have. But I mean, then there's also occasions where I'm watching wrestling on my own. And I'm like, that guy is good. I gotta reach out to him myself. But if people approach me, I do my best to kind of watch as much as I possibly can. But there's just so much wrestling out there now. Sometimes I find I edit like 3-4 hours a day for our shows. And there's some times, man, where I'll just be like, I'm burnt out on wrestling. I can't watch another second. I cannot watch another second. And then, that's when someone is like, hey, man, check out this 30-minute match I got. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me, man. Like 30 minutes. But truthfully, as far as talent goes, man, we're just trying just to pull in talent from anywhere that's unique to us.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the business, right?
Yep.
Always keep looking. Let's see. Another question from Tommy here. I had a few submitted ones.
Oh,
Yeah. Do you miss being in the ring as much as you were prior?
You know what? I would be lying if I said I did not, man. There's been occasions where, like, I have just been kind of choked up by the response I get, man, because I wrestled as like 6 years as the guy that everybody paid to get beat up, man. I was talking trash, I was annoying, obnoxious,
So you're a great heel. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that.
And
So
it was solid enough for me as a performer. I enjoyed getting that type of reaction. But when I came out at heavy metal, and when I'm standing on the stage and I'm just announcing stuff, man, and the crowd's chanting like heavy metal or just like Dylan over and over again. I'm just like, this has never happened to me. This is this is a new feeling, So that's when I'm really just kind of like, oh man, maybe I could just dust off the boots one more time or something like that. But truthfully, man, with everything,
keep you in shape. That's one thing,
I don't know about that.
No.
With everything that we do with heavy metal and everything that I do on the backstage side of things, man, I legitimately would not have the time to have a match on one of our shows, because like if you see me on the stage at heavy metal, I'm watching for 30 seconds and then I'm back into the locker room doing something else, or editing this or shooting this or filming this. It's just always something that needs to be done, and I'm one of those persons that I'm very hands-on. I don't want to I want to delegate problems that arise to our team, but at the same time I want to be the person that's like, my hands are on this problem. I'm doing everything I can to fix it.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the ring,
So this goes back to that RTC stuff we had to learn.
yes,
yeah,
man.
delegate
Those first
things.
2 years.
Yes.
Man,
I did 4 because it was an easy A, but that was just me.
Yeah, you were a little smarter than me. That uniform didn't work out for me, man. But no, man, it really did kind of go back to that stuff. Like the attention to detail is just just trying to make sure everything runs on time, and the stories that are being told that need to be told, making sure everyone's okay in the locker room and stuff like that. There's so much going on that it would be detrimental to our show if I was in the ring, I think.
Yeah. So now you're, as a promoter, and obviously you're in a unique situation where you had the mind of a young fan coming up. You've seen it, you've trained, you've wrestled not a relatively long time. When it comes to the creative side of it, how much of it is your ideas and how much of it is feedback you're getting from the talent themselves?
So truthfully, man, one of the things that we do here that I think is really unique with heavy metal is we've done fan surveys where you'll come in maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks and you'll have a survey waiting for you on your seat. And that's one of the ways I kind of get creative with things. I always listen to our fan suggestions, and it's not just, hey, you tweet me this and maybe I'll book it. It's like legitimately, fans were asking to bring in Dirty Andy Dalton. I said, no, okay, no problem. I called Dalton up and, hey, I need you on this show, and he's here. So as far as creative goes, though, it really is more so just me getting with talent and saying, hey, what are you interested in doing? And how can we tell that story?
Okay.
So it is. I don't want to say it's something where it's kind of like an authoritarian rule where I just go, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how I want it done.
Yeah.
Really, it is me working a lot with talent and being like, hey, this is the idea we have. Let's hear some of your ideas and let's mix all this together and come up with some magic here. That really is, to me, how really good storylines can be told in the context of pro wrestling. It's just when everybody is on board and everybody knows their part,
When they're like invested in a story kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You're not
the
just
creative
kind of
juices flowing.
Exactly. You're not just kind of dragging your feet along like, oh, Dunbar says we have to do this. It's kind of like, no, I want to do this. This is something that I think is going to be good. So that's something that, I think sets us apart from a lot of other places as well. Just that kind of actual storylines where we have weekly kind of TV to develop them and tell those long-term stories instead of just kind of like, remember that time last month when this guy got beat up? Well, this is the return match. I'm like, I don't remember that. I don't remember what happened last week.
Another submitted question. Tommy had a bunch. He just threw them at rapid fire on the group message here. Who has been your favorite big name to bring in so far?
Oh man, that is a great question. It's actually a pretty long list. Number one is probably going to be Raven.
Yeah.
Having Raven last December was awesome, and mainly because he actually afterwards we actually became pretty tight. I ended up going on tour with him to do like some comedy shows as being like the rim shot guy going. And we just kind of text every now and then and just kind of just catch up with each other. It's kind of crazy because to me, again, going back to I loved DCW as a kid growing up, and that is where my creative juices come from. So being able to text Raven and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And he'd give me my feedback, and it's like, oh, this is amazing to me, Another one was PCO, who's who's like
Ring of Honor tag team champion?
Ring of Honor tag champs, the 6-man.
I'm sorry, not Ring of He's 6-man tag.
6-man.
Ring of Honor champ is GOD right now.
Yeah.
So
they're the 6-man, and he won the Crockett Cup and all that stuff. He's all over the place right now. Bringing him in was just fantastic. He was such an awesome person to work with. Just like salt of the earth kind of guy, man. Like, and legitimately mean that. I think when we were driving, my wife was driving him home, and I think our tire light went off, and it was like slowly inflating. He got out of the car and like put air in my wife's tire, and it's like, man, what a nice guy. You know? I can't say I would have done that for some stranger, But he was fantastic working with.
Well, I hope you would have done that for your wife. I would think.
We'll see. Like PCO is great. Raven's awesome. Darby Allin was another one that was awesome to work with, man. And then everyone that we have actually coming in for our May show has just been awesome to work with as well. Just with communicating and talking about ideas and just being like, hey, can you film this at home and shoot this on your camera and stuff like that.
It's funny you mention that because you're bringing MVP in, and like literally like a month ago he tweeted something asking about, or actually around the Super Bowl asking about the new Magnum PI show, and I've been watching it. And he's like, is it just like the original? I was kind of tweeting back and forth with him a little bit. Yeah, it actually is pretty good. So
I have to check that out, man.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a different take. It's a different storyline, but it's a fresh idea. They didn't recycle storylines.
That's good.
It's pretty
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of stuff like that.
Yeah. Who is the dream talent you want to bring in? Someone you haven't brought in yet.
Man, he's not in the wrestling business anymore, unfortunately, because I have bothered him weekly. I really, in my heart of hearts, man, I want to book Necro Butcher. Because I was there for that Necro Butcher Masada match.
That is a classic.
Anarchy Championship Wrestling, and that was one of the matches that kind of just hooked me.
It was an IWA Mid-South show, but they did film it in Austin. We were there. That is one of the best matches I've ever seen.
That match was nuts, man.
Yeah.
And that is someone that is on a very short list of just kind of dream talent that I'd want to book. But as far as people that are out there right now, I mean, it's kind of tough because the contracts with like All Elite are kind of messing up a lot of things for independent wrestlers, or at least independent wrestling companies. It's kind of like a gray area right now where people aren't really sure, hey, can I work this indie? Can I work this place? So there's a lot of people out there. I mean, I've been trying to get in contact with them as well, like Pentagon Jr. That would be fantastic. Ray Phoenix, like the Lucha Brothers. But again, with their status with All Elite, it kind of makes things a little more in that murky territory.
As it gets established, you never know.
Exactly. Exactly. So. You never know where things head up. But someone that we have actually been trying to work on, but it's so far down the line, has been Ultimo Dragon. Who was like someone that I just loved as a kid.
I think Tommy just pissed his pants right now when he said that, because he would love that.
Oh man, I was so excited when I found out that Tommy's like favorite wrestler of all time is Raven. And he had never met him, and I was like, no way. And I was like, well, that's awesome because I'm bringing him in. So like when we made that announcement, I was like looking in the crowd. I was like, where's Tommy? Where's Tommy? There's Tommy. Tommy, Raven. We're bringing him in. He's like, what? So yeah, those I'd say right now, like Necro Butcher, the Lucha Brothers, and Ultimo Dragon are probably in that dream territory for me.
Okay, my wife had a question too.
Sure.
In your opinion, who is currently the most underrated independent wrestler? This is male and female.
That is a tough question.
Yeah.
Because I have my own personal biases. I honestly, truly believe it, man. I really believe Thomas Shire is so far under the radar, and he's so immensely talented. But there's just so many there's so many wrestling companies out there right now, so many wrestlers, so many fantastic matches happening right now because everybody has the ability to stream wrestling now. Everything is on demand. You can watch anything anywhere. And it's tough to say who's just so drastically underrated on the scheme of on the scale of like Texas. I mean, I'm talking guys like Mysterious Q from ROW, who's just like just a mind-blowing athlete. This guy's like 6'4", like 260, can do a shooting star and a spiral tap, and it's like, what the hell? That's not humanly possible, you know? Like, that should not be possible. Mysterious Q is someone that's vastly underrated in the state of Texas. Shire is another one, and to an extent, without including heavy metal, Great Scott is, I think, insanely underrated. On a national scale, I mean, guys like the Revival. I love the Hooligans, Devin and Mason Cutter. I think they're vastly underrated. There's just so many guys, man. For fear of like missing people and getting some hate in my DMs later, like, you didn't mention me, you bastard. I'm just gonna stop.
Can't mention everybody. What about female talent? Do you have any?
For female talent, man, that's actually one of the things that I've been really working on is trying to bring in new female talent. Delilah Doom is, I think, pretty underrated still. I mean, she's in the sense that she is not blown up to the point where I believe her talent should be. I mean, she's done a match or two with Impact here, and is on the West Coast now, in California, and is doing very well for herself. But I believe she should be on every national show.
The next Mae Young Classic.
Absolutely,
you think? Yeah.
Absolutely. She's very talented, man. She connects well with just about anybody that you watch, that anybody in the crowd watches her. She's actually going to be on our next show on May 24th. Which I'm super excited about. She hasn't been in heavy metal for about a year and a half, and hasn't been in San Antonio for a long time, so it's good to bring her back.
That's good.
But I would say she's a vastly underrated female talent. There's the Sea Stars, who wrestle in Shakara, Ashley Vox and Delmi Vexo. Ashley Vox actually just made her debut for Impact. Both of those girls are just immensely talented. They're very, very skilled, and everything they do is smooth. It amazes me that they aren't everywhere. I've seen them in Shimmer and stuff like that, but they are just, and then again, tooting my own horn, but they will also be on the May 24th show.
Your mind is like an encyclopedia of wrestlers, so it's pretty cool. Mike had a question. Who did you learn a lot from during your time as a wrestler?
As a wrestler, I mean, my cop-out answer is Funaki, because I learned everything from
training,
him. But from people just kind of being in the room with them. Truthfully, man, I learned a whole hell of a lot from ACH. More so like what not to do, basically, because he would just yell at me and be like, shut up, you should shut your mouth. I'm like, okay, you're right, I should shut up. But really, he was someone that he was a nice guy, man, and he would take his time out of his day to tell you what you did wrong, why it was wrong, and the better ways to correct it. I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from, I would say, Masada as well. I did some in-ring training sessions with Masada, and everyone knows him as a deathmatch wrestler. Everyone knows that he's as hardcore and brutal as anybody else, but good God, man, that guy is a skilled mat wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, there was times where he would just have me, like, in holds that I didn't even know what they were. And like you said, I'm the wrestling encyclopedia, man.
Yeah.
I know these holds, and I'm just like, I'm tied up in a pretzel. I'm like, what the hell? How do I get out of this? I don't know what I'm doing.
Figure it out.
Exactly, yeah. But I learned a good amount from him in ring. And truthfully, man, just anyone you encounter, I have a mindset that anyone I encounter I can learn something from, whether it's, what to do or what not to do, or something like that, in that kind of mindset, that everybody has something to teach. But I'd say ACH and Masada, definitely.
Your favorite memory as a wrestler, and this kind of goes with my question, which would be, what's your favorite match that you've ever had as a wrestler?
My favorite match was actually I want to say it was like 2 years in. Maybe about a year in. And I wrestled Houston Carson at ACW. And we had this like goofy match where he put me in a Boston Crab, and then I immediately tapped out, and got on the microphone and said, the only reason I tapped out is because there's a Black Widow spider in the ring. And I squashed it. And I know you're allergic to Black Widow spiders, so you owe me a rematch because I saved your life.
Yeah.
So, like, he gives me a rematch and then, you know, puts me in a sleeper hold and I immediately pass out. And I told him, I get on the mic again. I'm like, no, I have narcolepsy. I didn't pass out. What are you talking about? So then he gives me another rematch and then he just kicks me in the face and then pins me 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But that, like, still to this day is like one of my favorite matches just because, like, it got such a great reaction. People thought I was just such an idiot. And that's what the whole idea of the match was. Like, you got to get this, you know.
It got over.
Yeah,
That's the point.
It got a reaction. But truthfully, like, when it came to wrestling, man, I was just trying to have fun with a lot of the things I did. Like, my favorite memory in wrestling is, like, probably like 2 years ago. I was doing a lucha match, or I was working a match for a lucha company in Dallas. I forget the name of it. But they had their show in a seafood restaurant. And,
wow.
And
okay.
I thought it was hilarious that I won that match with a Boston Crab. That's one of my favorite wrestling moments, man. It's like I yelled it out too. I was like, "It's a Boston Crab in a seafood restaurant." You know.
It's funny for me, especially because I grew up on seafood. My family owns like a chain of seafood
Oh,
restaurants in
wow.
the valley, so it's like
It's relatable.
Yeah, it's relatable.
But there's so many things we've done in wrestling that I've done in wrestling, man. Like traveling to Mexico with Scotty and Ruben Steele and the Hooligans. I mean, just traveling the United States and going to like live in New York for a few months. Like just that to me is my favorite part of wrestling. I couldn't tell you, you know, what match I had that was, you know, that was the best, you know, in-ring stuff or had the best reaction. But I can tell you like moments that I had on the road, you know.
The road stories.
The road stories,
Yeah.
yeah. That's my favorite part, man. The camaraderie between, you know, 4 or 5 guys that just jam pack into a car and drive 20 hours one way for, you know, the opportunity to just be in front of a huge crowd or a different crowd, you know.
Now those Mexico crowds, are they as insane as people say?
Oh man, and yeah, man, I had a bottle of piss thrown at me. It was not my finest moment. I was actually pretty angry.
If you're not getting shit thrown at you in Mexico, you're
I
not doing
guess.
your job.
But they had us going out there, man. It's like the ultra American guys, and so
Build the wall.
It's actually this was in like 2012.
Okay,
I want
so
to say
pre-Trump.
pre all that fun stuff,
Yeah.
man. And we went down there, and my first night, I ended up losing a hair versus mask match. So they held me down and shaved my head, and it was actually one of the coolest things because I actually was in the paper the next morning, like the Matamoros newspaper, of like me crying, getting my head shaved by these luchadors, and then the next day. Me and Scotty we actually both got our head shaved. We were wrestling in another city in Mexico, and that's when they were like, "You're going to be the, you know, Ultra USA guys." And it's like, "Oh, okay, fine." You got a big giant white guy with a bald head and 2 big giant white guys with bald heads going out there and just throwing like tortillas at the crowd. It's just disrespectful stuff, man. I look back and I'm like, "Good Lord, I cannot believe that we agreed to do this." But the promoter was like, "This is what we want you to do." So it's kind of like, okay, then if that's what you want.
That
you know?
stuff gets over there.
It does,
But
man.
is it just like, okay, they escort you out because they take it seriously? When they let you out, are you on your own? Is it really?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, no, we had an escort. They drove us back to the border.
Okay,
because
good.
it was one of those things where it's like we're
Woo-wee.
doing the show and we're going back home. They drove us back to the border, dropped us off, and we walked across the border ourselves. And I'd never been that happy to see like a Whataburger. Because like as soon as you cross that border in like Reynosa, you just see a Whataburger, and I'm like, oh, home, you know?
Yeah.
No cups of piss being thrown at me here.
Number one, please. That's lemonade, right?
Yeah, lemonade. There you go.
Now you're out of the wrestling game.
Yeah.
If there's one dream match you want that would get you
Oh.
to lose all that weight again, get healthy, what would be your dream match?
Man, in the realm of possibility, man, because I'm going to throw something out there like, oh, me and Shawn Michaels. But I know
that's not going to happen. Yeah.
But I know that's not going to happen, man. Unless I had like some Saudi oil money or something like that.
Okay. You went there.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know. But then, you know, as far as like in the realm of possibility, man, I mean, just some of the guys that we have on our shows, watching them just gives me that itch again, just because it's like, man, you're so damn good, you know. Guys like watching Terrell Tempo, as he's so skilled, man, and everything is smooth as silk. And watching him, it just makes me go like, man, you know, I want to get back in there. Not necessarily to wrestle him, but just to do something with him, tag together or do something, man. The hybrid bruisers, Richie Garcia and Aaron Mercer, watching those guys like beat the crap out of people has made me want to go in there and beat the crap out of them. Just there's a list of guys, man. Truthfully, it's almost every Thursday when we have these live shows. that I'll watch these shows or watch these matches, and I'm just like, man, I want to get in there with you
Yeah.
next month, something like that. There's just so many, man, but I really don't think that there's anything conceivable like out there that would get me off of the couch.
Well, you're an old ECW guy. What about somebody like Tommy Dreamer?
I mean, I would love to do something like that. One of the things, man, is because I became kind of close with Raven. He was like, "Can I wrestle a match with you?" And I was like, "Oh my god, man, I'd love to, man, but I'm pretty sure people would hate me for being the promoter that brings in a name to wrestle himself."
Hey, you never.
But I would, dude.
You put on a good
truthfully,
match, they'll forgive that.
That's
what I'd
true.
say.
That's true.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, like in that same vein, working with like a Sabu, a Sandman, a Raven, those would definitely get me going in the right direction. But it'd have to be something just out of this world to kind of light that fire. As far as like, okay, I'm actually gonna do this. We're jumping full back into it. So I'd be here like every day training and stuff like that. It'd have to be something that's just going to kind of be once in a lifetime for sure. You'd never see me and Tommy Dreamer in a match again, the next town over. But you might see me and Ruben Steele in a town next match over or something like that. So yeah, I'd say, someone up there, a Tommy Dreamer, Raven, Sandman was always a favorite of mine, Sabu, if I could survive that, man.
He still goes through.
Yeah,
crazy
he
stuff.
does, man.
Let's see. So you run a weekly show. What is I guess some of the favorite match you had on one of your shows that you can?
Oh man,
recall promoting?
actually, it was this past Thursday. It was my favorite match that we've had. We've done 22 episodes now of the weekly Heavy Metal Thunder show, and this last one had my favorite match. It was Dill Dempsey versus Jacobs Pliskin. And now Dill Dempsey is just kind of like a putz. He really is. That's the best way of describing him. He's kind of an idiot. And he's just a nice guy outside of the ring, but inside the ring, he's just kind of a moron.
Yeah.
And he wrestled Jacobs, and it was just that match had me on the edge of my seat. And just being able to see Jacobs Pliskin, who we watched in
You watch ACW?
2005,
I haven't seen him in years.
2006.
Yeah.
And dude, he was doing things in this ring that I was just like, man, this guy hasn't missed a step. It's been 15 years. And it's been legit probably about 6 or 7 years since he was really in the ring. And he hasn't missed a step.
I was gonna say he took some time off.
Yeah,
right?
he took some time off, and I think he focused on a new career. But now that we started doing heavy metal, he got that itch back too. And he's got a home here now, and he's on our weekly shows, and he's just above and beyond what anybody who has been in the business as long as he has should be doing. He was just phenomenal. And it wasn't, it was just the reaction from the crowd too that kind of sold it for me. Ruben Steele versus Chris Cruz was another match that we had, both young guys that are both insanely hungry. We had Great Scott here with John Redcorn from King of the Hill, which was just kind of absurd. It was one of those moments that I was just kind of like, what the hell is going on in my life? When I was, that was one of those moments on those weekly shows that I was just like, this is why we do what we do, man. There's been some low key amazing matches that have happened on this weekly show, and I'm stoked to be able to present them to people.
Now this one, it can be a place that you have either gone as a fan, wrestled in, or promote now. What it would be your favorite venue of all time for wrestling?
Oh man, favorite venue of all time. For sentimental reasons, man, I'll go with the Alamo Dome. I mean, that was kind of when I fell in love with live wrestling when I was 5 years old at Royal Rumble '97.
I was there too
with Sean and Sid in the main.
It made me feel I was in high school. My sophomore year in high school, Mike and I went to. Yeah, no, it's all good.
But yeah, man, I was a kid, and I remember at that show standing on my seat when Sean won, and just being so elated, and just this crazy feeling that I had never really.
I've never heard the
before.
dome louder.
Yeah.
Yes, I was on the floor, and it was insane.
It was nuts, man.
Yeah.
I was up in the cheap seats with my dad, man, and it was something that I'm getting goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, man. It was so awesome. And, we did some stuff. We did an event at the Alamo Dome last year, and it wasn't, Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But it was awesome to be able to have my ring set up there and have be the only other wrestling show other than WWE to ever do a show inside of the Alamo Dome. That was something really cool for us. We did for a long time, man, the Corova was my like goal. Like, man, that was such a hot place. That's where I want to do our shows. And then we got it, and then 2 months later it closed down. So it's like, no, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Everywhere that we've tried to run at, we've been able to run at. So it's been awesome. Like, we do shows on First Fridays now at High Tones as part of like the First Friday thing happening downtown here in San Antonio. But as far as like overall venues, man, just, let's talk about not just local to San Antonio. Obviously doing a show in like Madison Square Garden would be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
The one venue I haven't been to that I just want to check off that box on my list would be the ECW venue. How big of an ECW fan I am. That would be somewhere that I would just love to not even promote a show or not even wrestling, man. Just to kind of
see it.
just to absorb it and just kind of be like, man, this is where it all went down, It's things like the Sportatorium that's no longer standing.
Yeah.
Places like that, man. Just those kind of like legendary, kind of venues that have stood the test of time. Well, not the Sportatorium, but other ones. That's definitely some place I'd love to visit. As far as running shows with heavy metal, I love this place. We run our bar shows here at the Guillotine, which is an awesome venue as well. That's another thing too. Is I used to be, when I was like 15 or 16, I was this little jerk punk kid, man, that would hang out at bars underage, and I wasn't drinking. I was just going to like punk shows and at the Sanctuary off of Main Street, which is now the Guillotine. So it was cool for me to kind of come full circle in that small bit of my life where it was like, hey, man, I used to be this little punk kid that would, sneak in through the back door to catch punk shows because I didn't have the $7 to pay a cover. But now I'm running shows there, which is awesome.
And now you're watching the back door to make sure nobody sneaks in?
Yeah. Give me your damn money.
Let's see. Well, you're still relatively young.
Yeah.
How much longer do you see yourself doing this?
Dude, hopefully forever, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully forever. It's a stressful thing, man. I turned 28 in a few months. But I'm hoping I could like have heavy metal running as long as humanly possible. As long as we have an audience, man, we'll keep having a show.
Do you have any kids yet?
I do not. No plans. No, nothing like that. I'm married, but we have no plans for any kids right now.
Not yet? Okay.
Dude,
just enjoying the married life.
Dude,
yeah.
This is heavy metal and just wrestling in general has kind of taken over every aspect of my life and by proxy, every aspect of my wife's life. My wife was working in a law office for a while and actually ended up leaving her job to focus just on to make wrestling gear.
Wow.
Because she's a seamstress. That's what she kind of went to school for and was in high school for. She did like a bunch of design classes, and now she's pretty much like one of the top people to make wrestling gear.
Did y'all meet in high school, or was that just something?
No, man. We met about. You put me on the spot.
Yeah.
We met like 6 years ago.
You're quizzing him now.
Hope she's not watching. I hope we met like. I think we met like 6 years ago, just at a bar, random chance encounter, and we just kind of hit it off, man. And it was something that she was like, well, I never really envisioned how I could make money, like selling clothes. And I was like, oh, I can find a way.
You have an idea. Yeah.
I have an idea.
So when all said and done, what would you want your legacy in wrestling to be?
Oh, man, I just want to be able to provide memories for people. Like, I just want, like, that the
way we look back at the old ACW days of the venue.
The way it's not only like people like you and me and like other friends and stuff like that, but it's like me and my dad. Like we go to all those shows together, man. So there are people that come to our shows and I see it, man. It's just like, oh man, that reminds me of me and my dad would go, grab a bite to eat and then go to the wrestling show. And that was our real bonding time. I made memories that way with my dad. It wasn't even like, oh man, I remember, this guy kicked this guy's ass. And I don't remember the specifics of the match, but I remember how I felt. And that's what I always want my legacy to be remembered is, hey man, I don't remember every single thing that happened in heavy metal, but I remember how I felt when I left, that I wanted more, or that I wanted to see that guy's ass kicked, or that I was happy that I saw this, or, that guy has that father and son have something to talk about on the way home for 35 minutes or something like that. That is, to me, what I want my legacy to be.
Something you want them to look forward to every
Yeah,
month.
exactly,
Kind of thing.
yeah.
Now, Heavy Metal Wrestling, you guys are at heavymetalwrestling.com.
Yes,
That's the website.
we are all over the place, man.
Yeah, I had to research it here. So Twitter at Heavy Metal Pro.
Yep.
Instagram and Facebook at Heavy Metal Wrestling SA. And Twitch is just Heavy Metal Wrestling.
That's right.
So, and you guys, like you said, you told me before the show, you put out content every day.
Every day, man. On Mondays, you can catch us being goofs and streaming old school games. I think last week I beat the hell out of Corvus and Super Smash Brothers and No Mercy.
Okay.
So yeah,
I might join y'all.
yeah,
for
we
that.
get pretty serious, man. I mean, if you're looking to get your ass kicked, JC, then you can.
Really? Bring it. Let's do it.
Then you can, man.
Yeah.
And then on Tuesdays we do like sit down interviews with some of our guys. And Wednesdays, we have our live streams. I'm sorry, just our streams of our our weekly shows. Thursdays we have live events here in the pit off of 6-1 Kinder off of San Pedro and Bassi here in San Antonio.
I was gonna get to that.
Yeah.
So the tapings, you guys usually start that at what time? 8:30.
8:30, yeah, 8:30, and then they typically last, roughly about an hour to an hour and a half, man. And the cool thing that I like doing about these taping shows, man, is I don't release any information about what's gonna happen, who's on the show, what to expect or anything like that. It's very rare that we have a promoted match, like ahead of time. This is gonna be our main event for the night. All of the weekly shows are promoted just like come check out wrestling and see who shows up.
And this is a unique part. BYOB and BYOC, as in bring your own chair.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Chairs are expensive,
That's one way to stay under budget. Have everyone bring their own chair.
Yeah, man. Chairs are expensive.
Now, bring a chair you don't mind getting used in a match. So don't bring some expensive folding chair, whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Place like this. And then so you guys tape that on Thursdays. That airs the following Wednesday.
Yes.
And then you guys are running monthly events. Your next one is it called?
Iron Sharpens
Iron. There we go. Yeah.
May 24th, man. Iron Sharpens Iron is basically what I've been calling Texas versus the world. We've got a huge monthly event lined up for May 24th. It's going to be headlined by Terrell Tempo, going on one-on-one with the one and only MVP, Montel Vontavious Porter. We've got, Delilah Doom making her return against one of the top women athletes in the United States right now, and Chris Statlander. The feminist icon Effie will be making his debut on the 24th. Who else we got? Rory Gulak, the amazing Rory Gulak, will be in a match against Aaron Mercer, and that match has to be won only by tap out or knockout.
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then we're obviously going to have, Great Scott defending against Gregory Iron, who's just one of the most inspirational wrestlers in all of, not even just wrestlers, just athletes.
And that's for this right here we got on the table? Yeah.
Bare Knuckles Championship. That's what it's
yeah.
all about, man.
And that's at the Guillotine on Friday, May 24th at 7:30 p.m. What time do doors open for that?
Well, this is going to be a special event. This is doors will actually open at 7:30. We're actually going to have like a little VIP meet and greet kind of thing.
Okay.
And then that'll start at 7:30, but then the actual doors to the general public will open at 8:30.
Okay.
So all of our tickets are always just $10, man. That's one of the things that I always try to emphasize, man, is we don't have $30, $35 front row tickets or anything like that, or $50 tickets, because I'm pretty broke myself, man. So I know what it's like to want to take a girl out to a show, or bring your buddies with you, or take your kids. All of a sudden you're going out to a wrestling show, and before you sit down, you've spent $50, $100 on just tickets alone, man. Heavy metal, I always tell people, man, you can come in, you pay $10 for a ticket. You get a beer and a shot for $5, and there's a taco truck outside that sells a taco plate for $5. $20, man. $20.
And the meet and greet that you guys are doing is an extra $10.
The meet and greet's an extra $10. So $20 will get you the meet and greet, which will be the only time you'll get guaranteed access to all of the stars that'll be at Heavy Metal on the 24th, plus an early admission, general admission kind of thing.
Now, this is it's a Guillotine, it's a bar, so obviously you have to be 21 to drink, but if you're under 18, it has to be with an adult. That's just the rules of the bar.
That's right, yep.
And then your weekly shows here are free.
Our weekly shows here are free, man.
Can't beat that.
You cannot beat that.
No.
It's 100% free, man. I mean, we'll ask you for some donations along the way just to kind of keep the lights on. But, I mean, truthfully, man, everything I want to do is free. Like I said, man, used to be a little punk rock kid, used to be broke as hell, sneaking into shows. And that kind of mentality stayed with me. If I see a local band that's charging like $7, I'm like, I'm going to stay home. I'm not going to pay $7 for that,
Yeah.
Because then it's not just me, it's my friends, my wife. I got to buy beer and all this other stuff. It's all of a sudden, man, going to a local show cost me $100. And being that little punk kid, I still have that mentality of like, oh no, man, this is my $7. Screw you. So $10, man, I feel is pretty reasonable for the shows that we do. And then obviously, I'd like to keep our weekly shows as free as possible,
Well, this is a great place. I mean, this is my first time here. Invite me into the ring for this too. got the barricades there, so some crazy stuff goes down.
Man.
Yeah, so
yeah, we got to keep people back sometimes.
Yeah. So check these guys out. I gave you guys the social media links once again: Twitter @Heavy Metal Pro, Instagram, Facebook Heavy Metal Wrestling SA, Twitch Heavy Metal Wrestling. Of course, our Twitter at @CCG_WrestleCast and subscribe to Kansas City Geeks. I'll have this on Facebook. This is like a special episode, usually interview. So, Dylan, you've come a long way.
Thank you, man.
So, and I'm
hey,
very
man,
proud of you.
You have too, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate that so much, man.
Yeah, it's a long way from you. Like you said, sitting behind the crazy 5150 Mafia guys we were, and just enjoying wrestling. I used to remember how excited you would get when they would announce Colt Cabana coming to ACW.
Yeah, man.
So
that used to. I'd beg my dad. I remember one time we got into a little bit of argument. I was like, "Man, you got to take me to Austin. Chris Hero's coming."
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't have any money." I was like, "I don't care, man."
I'll tell you a funny story. That this was the match, Masada versus Chris Hero, and my wife and I don't think we were married yet at the time, but it was a show in Austin, and we're getting ready to leave. And if you remember Chingo Smurf, used to be up there. Yeah, he calls me and says, "Hey, man. Have you guys left yet?" I was like, "Oh, no." And I could see my wife rolling her eyes. She's like, "Oh, boy. Hey, can you guys do us a favor?" I go, "What's going on?" The promoter, Masada's flying back to California. The promoter booked his flight, booked it back to San Antonio instead of Austin. And can you guys go get him and then bring him up to the show? It's like, "Yeah, we could do that. What time's the flight?" Sends me the information. I hang up the phone. Tina goes, "What?" Because there's always something.
Yeah.
Like we forget something. We're a little delay in there. It's like, well, my wife's a huge Masada mark. So she's all mad. And I go, "Look, Masada's flight got booked to San Antonio. They just asked if we could pick him up to the show. We're taking my wife's car at the time to this. So, but I can call him back if you don't want." No, that's okay. That's okay. We can take him. So we get to the airport, pick up Masada, and she let him sit in the front seat because he's about to wrestle. Make sure his legs are stretched out for the drive. And then I'm just like kind of looking at the rearview mirror. She's just like, "Oh my God, Masada's in my car." And it was Masada versus Hero. Drove up for that. He was very grateful for that. We drove him back home because he lived here. Yeah. And he rode back with us. I think Dalton rode back with us too. And we're just talking about it. And we as soon as we dropped him off, she was like, "I cannot believe Masada was in my car."
Man,
So,
I've had those moments.
Yeah,
many times, man.
Just that. And it was, I still think about that to this day. Just memories, as you said,
exactly.
making memories with wrestling.
Man.
So
that's one of the things that's very important about independent wrestling, man. It's not just one company anymore. There's companies all over the place, man. I mean, I'm happy to be able to work with Sabotage Wrestling and Inspire out in Austin, man, because it's just again creating memories for people in that area now. It's just that's what wrestling's all about to me.
Yeah. You're making a lot of memories. You're helping San Antonio grow. This is getting bigger. Yeah. So next week on the WrestleCast, we will be previewing Money in the Bank. Moved up this month because they're trying to compete with AEW. Let's be honest here, people. So, all right. So thank you again, Dylan, for joining me.
Thank you.
Time for us to sign off. I think I prefaced you on this. So until next time, heels and baby faces. Always remember, pro wrestling is real. People are fake.